Hello everybody and welcome back to my channel. I hope that you're having a wonderful day. If you're new here, my name is Neve and it would mean the world to me if you would stick around. Before I start today's video, I do want to apologise for the lack of video that has been happening for the past couple of weeks. Things have been super busy and I'm in the process of moving house, so I've spent a lot of time where I would have normally been filming, packing, and also the fact that I've been packing has sort of like inhibited my filming abilities because all of my books are packed away, which is a lot of what the content of my channel is. So I've been struggling the past couple of weeks coming up with video ideas now that I don't actually have access to my books. But hopefully things will be a little bit smoother over the next couple of weeks, and if not, things should be back to running pretty completely smoothly by the start of September. Fingers crossed. If not, then I will keep you guys updated, but I hope that that is the way things go. Today's video is going to be my July roundup. I contemplated whether or not I was going to film a July wrap up because my reading has been absolutely abysmal this month, but for personal reasons, not personal reasons as in like I would personally like to have the video there to look back on, so I didn't really want to miss this month, so you're just gonna have to deal with the fact that it's been a pretty terrible reading month. I think I jinxed myself in last month's roundup where I was like, fingers crossed I'll read more, and I didn't. I read much less. I partly want to blame the fact that I've started really terribly hyperfixating on BBC Sherlock, which I watched for the first time this year, which was my first mistake, but I didn't watch that till the middle of the month, and the reading problem of this month started at the beginning of the month, so I'm just gonna call it a bum month and leave it at that. But I will tell you the two books that I did read this month. So the first book that I read this month I mentioned in last month's roundup, and that was Last Night at the Telegraph Club by Melinda Lowe. I do not have the book on hand because, like I said, I've packed my books up for moving, but I will tell you what I thought about it, and I'll link somewhere you can buy it from in the description. Last Night at the Telegraph Club is a historical romance. I think it's set in San Francisco in the 1950s, and it follows the protagonist Lily, who is a Chinese American, and this girl Kath that she meets and falls for, and who introduces her to sort of like the underground queer community in San Francisco at the time. I absolutely adored this book. I gave it a 4 out of 5. I think if I read it again I would maybe bump that up to a 5. I took a bit of a break in the middle of reading it, not because of the book, just because of life, and I think I'd have been able to rank it a lot higher if I had been able to sit and read it sort of continually. So again, my fault. But the writing in this book was just so interesting. I loved also like the actual print of the book. I liked the font, which I don't usually notice about a book unless I dislike it, but like I actively enjoyed the way this book was made up. The cover is gorgeous. I really liked the main character. I could feel a lot of sympathy for her, and I felt like the author made her really easy to relate to, even though a lot of the struggles that she had were not necessarily struggles I could relate to. A large part of her storyline and her struggle and her identity was rooted in her Chinese heritage and the situation that was happening in America at the time the novel was set, where Chinese people were under heavy suspicion and mockery and just being treated really terribly, which isn't something that I have ever experienced or will probably ever experience in my lifetime, but I feel like the author did such a good job of making it so understandable and relatable, and I could really feel for and empathize for the struggles of this character, even though they weren't struggles that I personally could even remotely understand, which I really appreciated. I also enjoyed there's like a timeline in this novel that comes up after every chapter or every couple of chapters, I can't remember, about both the events of the characters' lives and where in the sort of time period the novel is set in that fits into, and how those coincide with real events that happened in America at the time. And I found that really interesting, and I also found that that made the characters feel so much more real, seeing the events of their life placed in a timeline alongside the real life events that happened like actually. That just sort of amped up the like realness of the characters for me, which I really appreciated. Melinda Lowe's writing style is gorgeous. It really is just such a lovely book, despite being quite bittersweet. I just thought it was so wonderful. It's my first historical romance I think I've ever read, and I really enjoyed it. I found myself sometimes like not even realising that it wasn't set now, even though it's very clearly not set now. Like, I don't really know how to describe that, but I genuinely just can't recommend this book enough. I thought it was wonderful. I highly recommend it, especially if you're looking for sapphic romances to read. I think that this is a really good one to start with. Last Night in the Telegraph Club is classed as a young adult novel in America, but it's classed as adult fiction here. I don't know why it's different. I think they do like a survey of the people who would be interested in the book before they release it, and it happened to be more adults here than it was in America, so you'll find it in the general fiction section of places like Waterstones, but I will leave a link to it in the description. Now, the other book that I read this month, I haven't finished it, which you're about to see, and I don't think I'm going to finish it, otherwise I would have waited to tell you about it in another video. But the other book that I read this month was 1984 by George Orwell. As you can see, I've got like a bit left. I don't know, I'm like... Oh, a lot of this is the bibliography. I've got like 60 pages left, and I just don't think I can do it. I don't think I can do it. Ultimately, I'm at the most interesting 60 pages of the book, but I'm bored. I'm so bored. And I feel really bad because I was so excited about the premise of this book. I really enjoyed Animal Farm. I think George Orwell is so talented. I like the way he writes. I like the way he builds the worlds that he's writing within. Like, I was so ready to enjoy this book, and I'm just bored. It's too long, is what it is. It's too long. I think for how little happens, it could have been a lot shorter, because a lot of the things that do happen he doesn't really go into very much detail about. I really think that the book could have been shortened by quite a bit, and I think I would have enjoyed it so much more if it was like smaller. But yeah, I think I have to give up. I know how it ends, and I've found myself for the past like maybe this much being like, when are we getting to the bit where it's done? When are they getting caught? When are they getting like, I'm bored. I think maybe I'd give it like a 3, because it is so interesting concept wise, and like I'm so interested in this like historical context of like when the book was written and how much of what he predicted was possible in the future in England or in the UK actually sort of did happen. Like, it's all fascinating, but it's also so boring. And I just don't think that I can make myself keep going, and I think the longer I make myself try to read this book and finish it, the harder it's going to be for me to read anything else. I'd rather cut my losses whilst I'm ahead and try and spend this month actually enjoying reading and getting through maybe more than one book. So unfortunately that is going to have to be a DNF. I don't think I can keep going, but I do actually recommend that you try and read this book if you feel up to it, because I think a lot of people do enjoy it, and I think maybe if I had read it at a different time I'd have enjoyed it a lot more, but there was just like the combination of timing and whatnot. I don't have the attention span for it. Maybe I'll come back to it. I do think I'm definitely going to give some other books that are sort of in the vein of 1984 a try and hope that I enjoy them a bit better. I think next on the list to try is I'm going to read Lord of the Flies at some point soon maybe, so watch out for that. Or maybe I'll try and read some plays that are set in a sort of similar atmosphere, because I find them really interesting, but I do think my main issue with 1984 is it was just too big. There was too much for a book that is a lot about the world and not what's actually happening in it, sort of, if that makes sense. So yeah.
No.
Like I find myself, there's a bit in this book, if you've read it, where the main character Winston gets given like a book of the opposition, and he like reads passages of it out, and I just found myself like skipping through the passages that he was meant to read because I was like, oh my goodness, this is so much information that could have been given to me in so many better ways. Like I couldn't really be bothered with it. So yeah, unfortunately this is a do not finish for me. Sorry, I wish I had more to say about it considering how little I read this month. I hoped that what I did read I could say some more nice things about, but unfortunately that is not the case. Hopefully next month, if I don't have more to tell you about, the things I tell you about will hopefully at least be more enthusiastic. I've just started reading Sally Rooney's Normal People, which everyone seems to love. And I'm already feeling much more enthusiastic. Well, I say just started reading, I'm about halfway through. I'm already much more enthusiastic about this than I am about 1984. So hopefully that is a good sign of things to come. By the time this video is posted, my birthday will have passed. My birthday is tomorrow and I'm planning to upload this tomorrow night or Monday. So if you don't get a video next week though, it's because I'm away on holiday to celebrate my 18th. But yeah, thanks for watching this video. I'm sorry that it was not very exciting. Hopefully my next video is much more exciting. I will see you soon. Bye.